And hey everyone, Mark Newstater with eXp Realty. It is a sunny January 27th. It's Thursday at noon, so it's time for the weekly real estate update. And joined as always by Jaden Bax up in the lovely hamlet or town of Crossfield.
Town.
It's not a hamlet.
Full on town, buddy.
Come on, Mark. You're better than that. You know it's a town.
You are.
We got some new music, so we're just playing around with the music this week. So keep it upbeat.
I feel like the production value is just skyrocketing. Every week you're bringing it up and up.
Yeah, well, you got to keep up with the times, right? So
right,
anyway, I digress. What is going on in real estate this week? I guess that could be the title of any weekly real estate update. What the heck is happening? Well, let's show you without any further ado. Let's show you some stats. All right. So for the week of the 20th to the 27th, we had 194 new listings, 344 sold, 210 pendings, for a total of 554 sold plus pending and a net difference of 360. So I had a client reach out to me this morning saying, so is the market still crazy? I'm like, yeah, it's probably worse. And this is before I looked at the stats. I said, it's probably worse than it was last week. And I think that would be accurate if you're a buyer. There's more competition. You're going to be competing. You're going to be paying over a list price in many circumstances. So what is the best idea if you're a buyer right now? I just came up with this cool kind of concept, and it's not going to work for every listing. But if you can get approval from the seller to book a longer showing, and that's a bit of a dream right now, but if you can book a longer showing, get a home inspector to come with us. Why would you do that? Well, the challenge right now is so many of these deals are going unconditional. No financing, no mortgage, or no mortgage condition, no property inspection condition. So by bringing in a home inspector, hopefully, and I'm still working on all the nuts and bolts of this, bring in the home inspector. He'll do a very abbreviated home inspection, but he can look at the furnace, the hot water tank, maybe the roof, do a quick scan with his thermal camera to make sure there's no active leaks, things like that. So that might be one way that we can go in unconditional if that's something that you are interested in doing as a buyer. But I mean, clearly what we're seeing here is things are only getting tighter. I didn't think that was possible, but it would appear that we are actually in tighter market conditions than even we were, at the beginning of the month. Well, yeah, I mean, these numbers would bear that out. We had a plus 272, plus 238, and we're up to plus 360 now on that net difference. So yeah, it's tighter. It's crazy. Price reduced 31, but I mean, look, there's still 31 detached homes that had to do a price reduction. So you never know. Total detached listings of 825, basically the same as last week. Total new, I should say. And total listings, 2610, I did a double take here. I double checked the numbers, and that is the exact same number as last week. I don't know how that all worked out, but let's just call it 2600, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we're really not seeing a massive bump. We did see a bit of a bump here. I mean, back, this would be 4 or 5 weeks ago, 2,800. And then we really dropped down in the first week of January. Not a surprise to 2,152, bumped up the last 3 weeks now. So that is the weekly stats, which, again, tell the story, Jaden, that we're still in a very, very tight market condition. Listing I had last week in Airdrie, on the market on Friday, and by Friday night at 9 o'clock, we were firm sold at $51,000 over asking price on a $520,000 listing. So, what does last year look like in comparison to this year? So this is, again, a good, we're always trying to analyze and find out, well, what is going on with the market? Where is it going? And so we started if this is your first time watching, this is a new feature I came up with, kind of analyze where we were exactly a year ago at the same time. So if we look at our total sales a year ago, 346 compared to basically 600 in this past week this year, a 73% increase. New listings, hey, that's great. We had actually a 23% increase in new listings but actually our actives are still down 36% compared to the same time last year. That means that stuff is just selling, right? It's simple math. Like, we just have more properties selling right now than we did last year at the same time. Take a look at the pendings. I mean, now, Jaden, is it people that are trying to jump in before interest rates jump because there's so much media hype about that? What do you think?
Well, I honestly think it's more on your side than this, because the interest rates, that's a small part of the equation in my mind. And they're going to go up, but it's not gonna be anything worse than what we had 3 years ago, right? We might go back to those rates. It's honestly a case in my mind of people knowing if they want to get into the market, they have to take the opportunity in front of them.
Yeah. And as I talked about last week, so you can see the increase of almost 200% in pendings. Median average prices, yeah, they're up. That's not a surprise. Again, as I talk about every week, I wait for the benchmark price. And I had a thought in my head, and now it just, because we're doing this step up thing, right, with prices. So a house sells on Jaden Street for 500, and a year ago would have been 450 or 475. Now Jaden goes, 500. He lists his house for 500, and there's multiple offers. It goes for 520 or 550, and the benchmark price for that particular neighborhood and street keeps bumping up and bumping up and bumping up. Like, I'm talking to a new buyer client tomorrow, and he wants to buy at the end of this year. So my question to him will be, why? I personally would not be waiting. I would try and jump in if at all possible right now. So that is a look at last year at the same time. And Jaden, let's throw your interest rates up, and you tell us what is happening in the world of mortgages.
Yeah, honestly, so we're, as the last couple of weeks have been, all the beginning of 2022, the end of 2021, interest rates are going up. They're going to continue to go up. I would assume by kind of mid 2022, we'll probably be seeing low threes for our fixed high ratio on a 5-year fix. And honestly, so we just yesterday, the Bank of Canada decided to maintain the overnight rate at 0.25%, which means that prime stayed at 2.45%. So they haven't raised that. That's a tool that they use to control inflation a little bit. So very likely we're looking at between 2 and 4 raises on prime in 2022. And kind of expect that to happen probably the next time that they meet. But what does that mean for somebody who's in a variable rate mortgage? Well, your payment is, if you're paying the minimum amount possible, your payment is going to go up coming up. But if you have that really great discount, prime minus 1.3, I had some on a 5-year at prime minus 1.5, so 0.95%, going up a quarter point, you're still paying 1.2%. That is incredible value. One of the things that I'm expecting coming out of this, even with the prime going up, we consider probably in March it'll go up a quarter of a point. I really feel coming into the spring market that we're going to see an increase on discount on prime again. So, get down to that lenders offering prime minus 1.3, so that you're looking at a 1.15% rate. So even if prime goes up that quarter point, our 5-year variable high ratio will be at 1.35 in that scenario. That's phenomenal. I just think it's phenomenal value. There's still a lot of value there. And even if it goes up 1%, you're still ahead of the game on what you're currently being offered on a 5-year fix.
Right, exactly. And just literally got off the phone prior to the Facebook Live today with a seller client, and they're downsizing. And they said, well, we don't want to put it on the market, or don't want to have it sold or possession until April. And like, interest rates are going to be going up by then. And my personal opinion, Jaden, is I don't think it's going to make a hill of beans of difference. What is yours on that?
No, I agree with you. Now, so if they're looking at having a sale, like it's selling in April and taking possession of a new place in April, we can lock you into your interest rate 120 days out, right? Yeah. So if you're worried and you want to keep in the fix, fine. On the other hand, if interest rates go up by, let's say, 0.5% between now and April on a fixed product, depending on your price point, especially with the downsize, the impact of that on a monthly basis is probably less than you suspect. So definitely worth running the numbers with your, Realtor is great at telling you what the market is going to do. Definitely talk to your broker, your bank about what that change, that potential change of 0.5% would look like for the amount of house that you're wanting to buy, and then
Right.
fit that within your risk profile, right?
Exactly. Cool. Let's talk a little bit about the Calgary Real Estate Board 2022 forecast. So to put it in a nutshell, what they're basically saying is that we're going to continue to see supply and inventory issues probably through spring, and they expect that the supply will moderate, or will have more supply as we go through the rest of the year. Prices will continue to rise. Whether or not we see the craziness that's going on now is the question, and I think nobody can really answer that. But they're predicting that prices will rise, but we're only going to see maybe this craziness of supply shortages through spring. I think that's a good encapsulation of what they're saying. And part of that is due to the low interest rates now. But of course, nobody delves into it like somebody like Jaden does to really talk about that. So I'm not sure that's going to be a massive issue. But the other thing that's very interesting is we saw net migration. We were the #1 move to city in all of Canada in 2021, and we haven't heard that for a few years. I personally feel like that, more than anything, is what's driving our market right now.
And I'll tell you from my experience. Sorry to jump in, Mark, but
no,
I'm
please
doing
do.
I'm doing pre-approvals for people from Toronto, from Vancouver, more than I've ever done in my career. And what I'm finding is that they've shown themselves to be good employees working from home. Their employers don't care where they want to work for, or where they work from. They love the lifestyle that the Calgary area has to offer and the pricing. So there's a lot of migration this way from that.
Exactly. And that's I think that we're going to continue to see that as the oil sector rebounds, as we see more tech jobs and all the different industries that are rediscovering Calgary, or reopening, or the different things that 2022 will bring. So the bottom line is, I don't think there's ever been a better time to sell, certainly not in the last 15 years, 16 years. So I'd love to be able to chat with you more about that. What does that look like? We have a great process. We do it on Zoom, and we can walk through all the comparables. And so I'd be happy to provide that to you as well. So Jaden, thanks again for the great info, and reach out to him for all your mortgage needs, me for all your real estate needs, and we will talk to you all next week.
Thanks, guys.